Yes, yes. Welcome. Greetings, everyone. Um, we are here as Africans to share our thoughts, ideas, to find some best solutions for our challenges. So, in this live streaming, we are going to focus a little bit on the upcoming uh, Africa-CARICOM Summit. The second Africa-CARICOM Summit will take place on September 7th, this year, 2025, in Addis, under the theme Transcontinental Partnership in Pursuit of Reparation Justice for Africa and people of African descent through reparation. African Union CARICOM second summit will bring together African states, members of Caribbean community, and representatives of African diaspora to strengthen unity, advance regional integration, and foster a robust transcontinental partnership. As you heard, my dear lovely family, this summit will be held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where African leaders through African Union and also uh, CARICOM or Caribbean leaders through CARICOM and representatives from the diaspora will be gathered in Addis, Ethiopia. Of course, the main issue here is about reparation. African Union, CARICOM, and diaspora will discuss about uh, reparation. But among reparations, what you think you need to hear from this summit? Um, for me, I think if I have a privilege to share my thoughts to African leaders and CARICOM leaders, first of all, is to undo the Berlin Conference. It doesn't make sense right now that 15 men, all heads of states, all kings of Europe or European countries sat down in Berlin in 1884 to 1885, then divided Africa. And yet today we are more than 15 heads of state, or we have more than 15 heads of governments. We have almost 54 heads of state and government. And yet we cannot undo the Berlin Conference. We are just coming to talk about reparation. Yes, it is a good thing. But for me, I think before talking about reparation, we need, first of all, to see how we can speak with one voice, how we can come together, not just through political issues. You know, the problem that we have, we think that to have summits, uh, it is just a unit. No, we want a unit of purpose, a unit when something can happen in DRC, all of us we can be aware. If something happening in Haiti, all Black community and African people can understand what is happening in Haiti, and all of us we can stand up. And I want to give you an example. You see what's happening in South Africa to white minority. If there's something happening to white minority in South Africa, America immediately understand what is going on there. European nations immediately understand what is going on there. But when it comes to Africa, what is happening in Sahel, no one understands. It's just a few people, and our stories always are being told by Western media. So it depends where they have uh, decided to narrate, where whom they want to defend. So I think when we go to African Union CARICOM Summit, the second one, I think we need to find a way on how we can undo the Berlin conflict. It doesn't make sense, as I said, that a few 15 heads of state or European leaders sat down, divided Africa, and yet today we are more than 50 heads of state. We cannot undo the Berlin Conference. If we don't undo the Berlin Conference, even this summit, Africans or Black people will be divided. The same thing happened to Kwame Nkrumah, to Mwalimu Nyerere, to uh, Modibo Keita, when they came with the idea of United Africa. What happened to them? We are divided. So we should not repeat the same mistakes. We should not allow what happened to our founding fathers to happen to us again. And to avoid all things to be repeated is to bring leaders who are conscious, who can undo the Berlin Conference. So families, friends, fellow Africans, before moving too far, let me share some speeches from Mia Motre. Of course, she will be there in Addis. Let us just hear a little bit from Mia Motre when he was in Ghana, when celebrating the 50, 64, 65 anniversary of independence of Ghana. She spoken things that was very, very, very important. Let us listen what he said.
We should have that first summit. Alas, COVID visited us, and what was to be the first summit of June 2020 ultimately became the summit of the 7th of September 2021. My friends, out of that summit, we agreed to establish a permanent forum for African and Caribbean territories and states. And that forum would be jointly coordinated by the African Union and the CARICOM Secretariat. We agreed also to take steps that the 7th of September shall forever be known as Africa-CARICOM Day. And we ask you, our brothers and sisters in Ghana, as we will in Barbados, to celebrate that day with the knowledge that those of us across the Atlantic can never be divided, not even by the forces of history or the passage of time. The establishment of this forum will allow for us to bring about synergies between the CARICOM single market and economy and the African Continental Free Trade Area. And it is significant that in both of these instances, our two countries lead the effort. In your case, for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and in the case of Barbados, for the CARICOM single market and economy. We've also agreed that we should collaborate and work much closer at the United Nations, because many of our objectives are the same and our missions are the same. We may have different routes by which we must get there. But if we have the same destination, and if we have the same purpose, then we have a duty to collaborate and cooperate with each other. We've also agreed that collaboration should be heard as we raise our voices against the inequity of vaccine distribution that has bedeviled our world as if there were truly first-class and second-class nations of the world. We reject that. We reject that. We ask ourselves to cooperate equally on the matters of the climate crisis, and we do so conscious that each of us is affected. You here with the same coastal erosion, whether in the Volta region or the Greater Accra region, or with the flooding that has regrettably taken place in your own country in 2019 and as recent as last year in August, affecting your ability to produce food, affecting your ability to buy food, because the costs continue to rise. And now that it is compounded by the realities of the pandemic and the realities of the war in Ukraine, we expect, regrettably, that there will be difficult times, that there will be increases in prices continuing. And I say to you, the people of Ghana, that in the same way that we have in Barbados, to explain to our people that the cost of living that now chokes so many of our people is regrettably not national, but global in nature. For we only need to look at the impact that will be happening soon. Get our next shipments of oil, as we get our next shipments of food, as we get our ability to negotiate whether we can in fact get the shipping arrangements to receive that which we want to buy. But we know that we come from a proud and resilient people, and not even the combination of the pandemic and the climate crisis and the consequences of aggression in Ukraine can cause us to bow and to lose focus. Yes, the times will be hard, but our ancestors have shown us that even in hard times, we can rise above this and hold firm to the view that we are a resilient and dominant people, capable of moving strong ahead. It is for that reason, Mr. President, that when we look at the global architecture and the lack of fairness in the structure of it, we too echo your own calls and that of others, that the African Union should be given a chance to become part of the global leadership if it is to be legitimate and if it is to be morally accepted by us all. The G20 cannot remain 20. The G20 must become the G21, for we know that in the African Union you constitute the 5th largest economy in the world with just under 3 trillion in production on an annual basis. And we know that the 1.3 billion people of this continent actually have the greatest demographic dividend to be reaped in the 21st century, with the largest percentage of young people on the planet Earth today to be found on the continent of Africa. If there is to be a future for these young people in Africa, then that future must be shaped not just by those who tell us what to do, but must also be shaped by those who experience what it is to provide for the 1.3 billion people on this continent. My friends, we stand in solidarity and in unity with you on these great issues. And I can do no better than to quote your own founder leader in his wise words as he addressed the OAU summit in May of 1963, when your president said, and I quote, "Do we have any other weapon against this design but our unity? Is not our unity essential to guard our own freedom, as well as to win freedom for our oppressed brothers, the freedom fighters? Is it not unity alone that can be an effective force, capable of creating our own progress and making a valuable contribution to world peace? We must stand united now more than ever. And the calls to remove a member of the P5 this week only serve to remind us of the absolute injustice and inequity of the P5, the permanent five in the Security Council in the first place. And that is why we say there can be no first-class or second-class nations of the world. It came to a head, an absolute head, when the one that was given the power to veto literally this week ensured that that veto literally made the United Nations almost useless in its capacity to save the people of Ukraine as they faced down the weapons of Russia. We say today that it is not only there that there must be change. We ask the world to also recognize that the international financial institutions cannot accept that two countries, namely Greece and Ghana, can go to the market to borrow money, have the same credit rating, but Greece must be able to borrow regrettably at a fraction of what Ghana must now pay for the cost of capital. That is and cannot be part of a fair and just world in the 21st century. And why must it change? Because in a very real sense, even though we settled the individual rights to protect each and every one of us, at the formation of the United Nations, we preserved an old colonial order of empires having the right to determine what the global should look like. We now know that it does not work. And we now know that the time has come to work together to change it for the betterment of the nations of the world altogether, yes, but in particular for the betterment of the people of our nations who were suppressed and colonized, regrettably, for too long. My friends, I ask us also to recognize that in today's world, technology makes geography and size almost irrelevant. And therefore it gives us that unique opportunity, and certainly as we have done in the Caribbean and in my own country, to assert that the time has come to reclaim our Atlantic destiny, that the time has come for strong strategic leadership. And that is why we have come to look to you on so many things for partnership as you have. I stand here today on your Independence Day to thank the people of Ghana for being able to support us in our need for nurses, with the first 95 nurses having gone to Barbados in July of 2020. We thank you, the government of people of Ghana, for that most generous gesture. And we are heartened that they have made a huge difference to our public health care system. So much so that we have just completed interviews for just under another 200 nurses to come to Barbados in the near future. We thank you equally for allowing us to work together to see how we can bridge the gap of travel between our nations. It cannot be acceptable that we must all go north to come back south when we can easily go east or west. To go 7 hours and 50 minutes to London is much longer than if I would have come direct to Accra. It is within our grasp, Mr. President, to change these simple facts to connect our people. And all the more so because there are too many restrictions being placed on our people, even for the simple access of transit visas, even if we want to visit one another. We are independent, and we must now shape our future truly in the image of where we want our people to go, rather than being victims of the decisions of others over whom we have little control. I am happy that we were able equally to establish in the last year a mission, an embassy in this country to be able to promote trade, culture and diplomacy. And the Barbados Embassy at Ghana in Accra is one of our first established continent of Africa, along with our embassy at Nairobi. That it has taken 55 years for us to have a presence in Africa is a regrettable thing. That it has happened is something of which we can all be proud, for it lays the foundation for greater cooperation between our people in the small and the large things that matter. Mr. President and the people of Ghana, let me say that I want to share just a few 2 minutes with you about who we are as Barbadians and what we stand for. We are a people who are very proud. And we know, as I did and said when I addressed your parliament, that we were an Akan-speaking nation in the 17th century. That many of our people owe their inheritance to this great nation. And it is that spirit of resilience that you have shared with us that has come through the centuries in spite of the horrors of slavery. That for us, on 166 square miles, land means everything. And therefore not just the possession of land, but the ownership of land must matter. That in our country, and I say so conscious that here in the Cape Coast, education has been critical to you in this part of Ghana. Equally, education is a bedrock upon which our nation has grown and has become more stable and prosperous. I say to you that it is our mission to erase poverty from our landscape, because poverty is a cancer that takes away from our people the right to choose and the right to be. And I share with you two simple things that perhaps say it better than I could ever say. Independent nation, and the President of the United States of America, Lyndon Johnson, offered to pay our dues to join the Organization of American States. The then Prime Minister and father of independence, the Right Excellent Errol Barrow, said to him, "Mr. President, where I come from, if you cannot afford to pay the dues, you do not join the club." That is who we are as Barbadian people. And when he went to deliver the first message on behalf of our people at the United Nations, he indicated something that has remained our motto and our bedrock, and which serves us well today, even as we comment on the crisis in Ukraine, that we shall be friends of all and satellites of none. This is a spirit which was imbued of us, and we have no doubt that that spirit owes its to right here where I speak today, in the just to keep our heads high in spite of all that we had to face. Today, as we go forward, we simply use the words, as I've had to do over the last 4 years in my country, as we ourselves face serious economic difficulties and challenges, as we face the climate crisis and the pandemic. And what were those simple words? Simple that our children understand. Many hands make light work. And just as we are prepared to share the burden of adjustment always, we must be prepared to share the bounty that can allow our people always to aspire and to feel that they live as owners in their own country and not tenants in the land. My friends, just once, please, before we go and I close, to reflect on the fact that it was from this coast, regrettably, that many people left. Yes, never to return at that time, but with a wish always in our bosom that their children and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren would come back to this land. We are conscious it is emotional. We are conscious that those who put your family in those castles, those horror houses, whether here or in Goree, did it because they simply did not see you, hear you, or care for you, and did it solely for the purpose of profit and solely for the purpose of power and dominion. It is regrettable that those same motives are showing themselves on the landscape of the world today. And if ever there is a people who can speak out against it with a moral authority, if ever there is the capacity for global moral strategic leadership, Mr. President, it must come from those of us who are affected on both sides of the Atlantic, those of you who lost brothers and sisters, and those of us whose great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents suffered the indignity of being treated less than human. We have come to this point today to say to these young people who sit opposite me that it must never happen again. I'm sure that it shall never happen again. We shall build monuments that you shall never forget. And it is therefore with pleasure that I share with you today that one of your own distinguished citizens, Sir David Adjaye, has been the person responsible for designing the monument in Barbados, the country that has had, regrettably, a relationship with racism that is a blot on our history. The parliament which I lead, regrettably, was a parliament that in 1661 passed the slave code that came to spawn all of the other laws that govern slaves in the Americas. It is for that reason that we, the children of independence, have an obligation to build a monument such that these young people shall never forget the scars of history. And that monument, 570 slaves buried in the burial ground at Newton Plantation in the parish of Christchurch, Barbados. We shall equally build there a genealogical research center so that we can truly understand who and who is exactly family. Because Barbados has the second largest transatlantic slave records in history, only to be exceeded by the United Kingdom, whose ones perhaps may not be as pristine as ours for different reasons. The monument that he has designed shall have 570 timbers standing tall. And we ask you, Mr. President, as we shall ask many of the other countries from where we have come and where we have gone to supply some of those timbers so that your presence always shall be remembered by the people of Barbados whenever they visit that Barbados Heritage District at Newton Plantation. I end simply on this last point. The discussion of reparations can never be an easy discussion. It is complex. It is difficult. The heads of government of the Caribbean community have assigned me the responsibility of writing the heads of government of those European states whose governments were responsible for the extraction of wealth from our countries for centuries, and who extracted wealth, I dare say, from your continent and your countries too. There are those who will say and remind us that the specter of war makes it an inconvenient time to have this conversation. But may I say, it is never the wrong time to do the right thing. And I therefore hope that we shall have the support of Africa in these difficult and complex conversations that regrettably have led to the extraction of wealth for centuries from our nations in the Americas. Thank you, my brother. My friends, we come to you today conscious that we have returned. We have returned. And it is the ultimate victory to wage against those who said that there shall be no return, that I stand here as a daughter of the Americas, a daughter of Africa, to congratulate you on what has been a magnificent display this morning by your armed forces, million persons, by the school children of this country. And may I say, as I saw the stilt men and the masqueraders, Mr. President, just as you felt when you inspected our troops in Barbados that you were in Accra, I feel today that I am in Bridgetown at Cropover when I saw the masqueraders and I saw the stilt men move through this stadium. It is a reminder always that we are truly family. So let us not look north. Let us look west and let us look east. And let us be determined always to remove the middleman, to remove the middle leg, and to remove the middle passage. For if we remain committed and focused on that, then I believe that we shall be that humanizing force that the world needs now more than ever in these great times of peril in which we live. What we must do to bring justice to the fight against climate. And we will know what we must do to bring reparations to those people who have lost. And we will know what we must do to ensure that those in this continent and in the Americas should not be deprived of vaccines at a time when other countries literally are throwing them away as if they didn't matter. For we shall know when the next pandemic comes how to fight it and who to protect. Mr. President and the people of Ghana, I leave you today confident that you shall continue to light a beacon for those of us not only in the continent of Africa, but across the world. And we shall join you in holding that beacon, that everlasting fire, if only because it is a moral and just fire. It is a moral and just fight that we wage. But we are equally conscious. Those who labor in a great cause, my brothers and sisters, shall never fail. Long live the Republic of Ghana. Long live the Republic of Barbados. Long live the Caribbean civilization. Long live the civilization of Africa. Thank you.
Yes. That is His Excellency Motre, the Prime Minister of Barbados, dropped one of the powerful speech when he visited Ghana. Her Excellency Motre has spoken critical things, citing on Reparations, trying to explain how difficult it is for Caribbean to attain Reparations. But all in all, what she insisted is that there's a need for Caribbeans and the Africans in the continent to come together and unite. Of course, leaders, we have no shortage of leaders who have been speaking, very eloquent, speaking from their inner of their hearts, speaking inspirational. But the problem that I see, we have for many years having good speeches, conscious speeches, but we lack implementation. If you start listening since our founding fathers, you see, if everyone stand up and speak, you see there's something unique and you see conscious. But why we are not why we are not acting? So that's why we are here to ask ourselves, what's the problem of our leaders and Africans in general to act? We are good in talking, we are good in speeches, we are speaking good English with a lot of vocabularies, but why we are not implementing? Why we are not acting? What's wrong for us Africans to act the way we see other civilizations are acting? We agreed to do something, but we are not. What's wrong with us? So we know that in the coming or in the Second Africa-CARICOM Summit, many things will be spoken there. We hope good speeches will be there, declarations will be there, contract something, agreements will be there. But when we move out of talking, move out of signing agreements, moving out of declaration, and going to the stage of acting. We need to act from now, and we need to act as a united people. Because the problem is here, we are like, lads. Just imagine there's a meeting of lads where there's thinking about maybe tying a bell to the cat. So the question is, who will start tying a bell to a cat? So we fear. The problem that we have, we fear. We fear to act. We fear because, and you know why we fear? We have taken loans. And I've been saying this many times. These loans that we take or we took, uh, these aid are the reasons why we fear to take action. Because imagine someone has offered you some money, giving you medicine, sometimes giving you for free, giving you maybe some, uh, we call them economic partners, they give development partners, they give us something like favors, but we fear to speak to them directly. If we can say what you have done, you have to pay, these people cut head, these people cut grants, these people will stop supporting us. And we want to learn our government. We need to learn our nation. One thing that I think we need to do, first of all, we have to tell our citizens. There's something that happened in Burkina Faso. I love it. I love it. And I congratulate Captain Ibrahim Traore. Maybe if I have a picture, I can share a picture from from Burkina Faso. What the current president of Burkina Faso, Captain Traore, is doing is telling the youth, children, and these young people, university students, the truth that we are in the revolution. So if you face difficulties, don't be shocked. We are in revolution. So you have to accept that you are going to meet challenge. So when these young people face challenges, maybe there's some shortage of goods, there's some shortage of maybe those who have given us money, they have decided to say, maybe because you have done this, you want reparation, we are no longer going to help you, we are going to cut aid. These people will understand. But in many of these we call ourselves democratic countries, when you tell people someone has maybe worked for 30 days, he or she need his salary. And we are depending, our budgets depends on external partners. Then this man or this women will not agree with you. They cannot agree with you because he or she don't know what is the plan of the nation. But if we can say we are in revolution, what is happening, you have to be prepared that we are in revolution, something maybe can happen. So don't feel shy, don't regret. And if we can tell our people the truth, these who are in political classes cannot lament. So that's why you see, in these democratic countries, we fear to start because we know that if we can not go with the way the Western power want from us, they can cut aid. And if they can cut aid, people can demonstrate. If people can demonstrate, can remove me from power or can remove someone from power. So we fear. And that's why we are not ready to act. That is the main reason why African nations are speaking very, very good, very nice, but when it comes to implementation, it is difficult. So what you see here in this picture, families, friends for Africans, that is youth of Burkina Faso. As I said, one thing that Captain Ibrahim Traore did is to tell youth, young people of Burkina Faso, that we are in revolution. So be prepared for anything. Be prepared for any kind of maybe difficulties. And that's why we see people in Burkina Faso are not um, amazed by what is happening to Burkina Faso. But I think other nations need to tell their people that we are in revolution. We are now in revolution. If we can tell the people, they can understand and they cannot fear to take actions. Apart from that, families, I want to share also just a few or small minutes of the speech made by former president of Zimbabwe, Mr. Robert Mugabe. You know, as I said, we have no shortage of good people who have spoken loudly, resisted. But the problem that we have, we are not implementing. So even hope in this summit, people provide their speeches, but I'm not sure that we will implement because we have no shortage of people who are providing speeches. We have no shortage of declaration. We have no shortage of agreements. What we lack right now is implementation. Let us listen a little bit from Robert Gabriel Mugabe.
On Sahrawi Republic within the context of our partnership frameworks. Similarly, I wish to express my disquiet over the developments leading to the EU summit on migration that was held in Valletta, Malta. Allow me to recall that we had reached an understanding with our friends in Europe. I stammer to say friends in Europe, that we would have a summit to address the issue of migration, which is of common concern to all of us. Alas, at the last minute, we had only a few of us from Africa would be invited. While I fully appreciate that we are affected differently by migration, there is need for a collective approach for the common good of all of us. Let the common interests of Africa unite us, please. Unite us on this and other global issues as well. For, as that song by that group of singers rang, united we stand, divided we fall. So on this one we were divided. Let's not be divided. The principles of unity, solidarity, and freedom bequeathed to us by our forebears from the bedrock of organization, that those principles must continue to be our principles. We wouldn't be here if 1963 had not occurred. And I can tell you, even as we, as freedom fighters then, sought assistance in the South. It was not just in the South. I remember about 1978-79, moving to Guinea-Conakry, to Senegal, before getting to the OAU, just pleading for assistance, humanitarian, if it could be given us, assistance, military, for military nation, if we could get it. And we were getting it here and there, those who could give. Algeria, training. Egypt of NASA, lots of training. And as 1963, the inaugural conference took place, the leaders came from all these countries. Ben Bella had won his struggle, the Algerian struggle of France. France had, after all the other Francophone countries had got their independence, Algeria was denied that independence by de Gaulle. Why? Because Algeria, he said, is part of France. Algeria, part of France. Algeria, part of France. Mediterranean Sea, yes, he said, Algeria cannot choose as others chose to say yes or no. No choice was given it because it was regarded as part of France. That's why the Algerians took to arms. And that's why Ben Bella could come. And we sang glory to him. And of course, he regarded that the independence of Algeria was not complete until the independence of all the other countries, including South Africa, was also acquired, until those other countries were also free. And Ben Bella, we still remember what he said. He put aside his speech. He said, "Let us die a little for South Africa. Let us die a little for South Africa." And we used to call it in our camps the die a little speech. The contribution made. So they are Groma. Ghana is not free until the rest of Africa is free. That spirit and those principles, unity, dedication, commitment, sacrifice, the givenness that struggle is our struggle, should remain with us. That suffering of people in Liberia is our suffering. We should have said that. The people dying because of Boko Haram in Nigeria are people as well. And I tell you, we knew Nigeria as we knew our palms, because we used to go there. We used to have lots of cadres trained there in Kano. We used to go to Kaduna, lots of other places. And Nigeria gave, in 1978, I think, 78, yes, when they had not been paying their subscriptions because there was a difference in the OAU on the issue of Biafra, so they had decided not to pay subscriptions to the OAU. But then, when they decided to pay the subscription was now £7 million or dollars. But when they paid it back, they said it should not go just into the coffers of the OAU. It must be used for purposes of training, military training of Zimbabwean cadres. So, Gomo and I and Brigadier Gaba used to go to the camp to the base where this group of our cadres was being trained. That is a contribution we made. I could give you other forms of contribution made. I will be, after this, I'll be talking about Hashim Bita, who headed the Liberation Committee established in Tanzania. And the Liberation Committee was meant to source arms for us. And all our liberation committees were there. From Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, Cabral. We were all in Tanzania. So there it is. Africa, wanting the Africans who were still under the burden of colonialism to be free. And that is why I have great respect for all of us. To me, you come to my country, it's your country. I go to your country, it's also my country. You can't chase me. You can't chase me and I can't chase you. That's it, the African spirit. We had to fight for it also. You had to starve for it, to sacrifice for it. And now you get some people still saying, because we are white and you're black, we can't give you the honor of equality in the Security Council. Nonsense. That should stop. Mr. Ban Ki-moon, just tell them for the last time, just as a message that you have heard for the last time from here, that there should be real equality in the Security Council. We can't just be coming to the General Assembly to make empty, hollow speeches and go back home. Nobody takes care of all the concerns we express. No. And anyway, the headquarters is actually of the United Nations is misplaced. Where do you have most of the people? You have 1.2 million billion, I mean 1.2 million people in India, 1.3 in China, and Africa, we are getting to nearly a billion also. Now put us together, just these three, and then put those with the white faces and pink noses, put them together against us. How many are they, even man to a man? And do we allow that group should continue to harass us even in our independent countries? Regime change, Mugabe should not be there, we want someone else. The creator was telling me the other day that he had been told that, oh no, your party, Chama Cha Mapinduzi, had been in power for too long. You must now allow another party also to take over. Is that democracy? And that was coming from Europe. Tell them to shut their mouths.
Yes, that is the former president, the late President Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe when he addressed the African Union. So right now we are lacking that courage from our leaders, a leader who can stood up and speak without fear, that stay away from what you're doing. And that's why I've been saying that right now we lack courageous leaders, leaders who can stand up, speak without fear, and tell the truth that what you are doing is not okay, what you are trying to tell us is not right. So keep your country, or keep also my country. That's what right now we lack. So families, friends, for Africans, I think when we go to the African Union CARICOM or Caribbean Community Summit, we need to speak open. We need our leaders to speak without fear. We need our leaders to strategize to create a better future for our children. Because if we don't do so, we are going nowhere. And that's why I have been saying we have no shortage of good speeches from leaders. We have no shortage of courageous leaders. What we lack right now is action. So Mugabe said, Kwame Nkrumah said, Nyerere said, Chaole has been saying, Malema repeated many times, but where is our action? All of us, we know that for Africa to strive and to move forward, Africa, we need unity. But the question is, are we uniting? Is Africa speaking with one voice? That's what we lack now. That's what we lack right now. We lack unity. We lack speak with one voice. That's what we lack right now. So it's my hope our leaders, when we meet in CARICOM, I mean in the Africa Union, Caribbean Community Summit in Addis, they will speak and undo the Berlin Conference. But I've been saying this many times that some leaders will not be there. Among those leaders will be Chawe, also Mamadou Doumbouya, President Dramani Chian, also President Goita are not there. Why? Because African Union said these leaders took power through military, what they call military coup, because they are not accepting what happened to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, that was revolution. They're still insisting that was unconstitutional changes of government. So African Union cannot allow that. But all in all, Africans are asking the voice of these brave leaders to be heard in the African Union. So, families, friends, fellow Africans, after that, let me say thank you. Have a nice time. The aim is to share and to make you aware on the upcoming Second African Union CARICOM Summit that will be held in Addis next September, September 7th this year. We'll have African Union Caribbean Community Second Summit. So we expect much from there. We expect more leaders. Of course, even African diaspora representatives will be there. But the theme of the summit is to talk about reparation, unity among Africans, Black people, and African descent. But we will share what will happen there. So families, let us not speak for too long. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this movement. Thank you for being part of Revolution. This is a platform where we come together as Africans to share our thoughts, ideas, to find the best solutions for challenges. We are not challenging leaders. We are just sharing our thoughts. We are just providing some extra views to what we see we can do as Africa. Because this is our motherland. This is our Africa. If Africa prosper, all of us will enjoy. That's why we are also being part of solution. We believe in African solution, African challenges. We believe in African solutions, African problems. That's why we are also part of these solutions. So, brothers and sisters, have a nice time. See you next time.